We're on the air. We're on the air. Author Interview Radio brings you the hottest authors publishing on the planet today. Listen in on these private conversations. Now, here's your host. You are on the air.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're talking with Tami Patzer. She's shared her publishing and marketing strategies for impact, influence, and income with business owners, medical professionals, subject matter experts, and local marketing consultants at Harvard, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, and NASDAQ, as well as SCORE, SBDC, and Seagram, and many chambers and local organizations. She is the creator of Women Innovators Podcast and Publishing Program, as well as the Thought Leaders Show and the Daily Success Institute. In addition to publishing and consulting directly with thought leaders and entrepreneurs in finance, health, and heart-centered businesses, Tami has trained thousands of local marketing consultants in social media and video marketing. She's helped hundreds of people become international best-selling authors and is the creator of the Beyond the Bestseller book, Creation and Marketing Formula. Tami is recognized for her creative, outside-of-the-box thinking and action implementation plans for her clients. She specializes in helping entrepreneurs and professionals showcase their expertise as subject matter experts by positioning them as educators and advocates for the success of their clients and prospects. Let's start with a little background, Tami. I know that you, when you think about having a book and you talk, why is this vital to today's business person to have a book?
Well, thanks for the introduction, Kristina. I really believe that in today's world, which we're all fighting for our clients, and it's both in a virtual and in the real world. So we're going between virtual and the real world. Having a book, again, think about it. Author equals authority. And when you have a book, it shows that you are the expert on that specific topic. So it can become very powerful in all of your marketing efforts. And many people, they're thinking to themselves, well, I'm not a marketer. But the truth is, you have to constantly be marketing yourself. And the beauty of having a book is it can market you 24/7, 365.
Now, what types of businesses can benefit from an expert book?
Really, nearly any type of business. For example, medical professionals. I work a lot with functional medicine doctors and dentists. They can benefit because, of course, if you have an expert book, you can put it together and you can answer frequently asked questions. So you can literally hand your book to someone and even bookmark it in a place that might be beneficial to them. Books are good for heart-centered business people who, let's say, for example, if you're doing Reiki or energy type work or some type of mindset work, you can help your potential clients understand who you are with a book. So financial advisors, brick and mortar. For example, I used to be a newspaper editor, and one of the coolest projects I ever did was a food guide for restaurants. And we interviewed the chefs at different restaurants and asked them for their favorite recipe and turned that into a book. And that was a very popular thing. And then it all culminated in having an event, like a taste of the town. So that book actually helped to promote local restaurants. And that's really important. A book can help anyone, and it doesn't matter if you're a CEO at a, Fortune 500 company or the owner operator of a mom and pop company in your local hometown. That's the beauty of a book. It can go from being something you can use in your local hometown all the way up to national and international marketing.
So you're saying this could really work for anyone, anywhere.
Yes, and it's interesting because in the business world, we're always talking about find your niche or your niche, but a book again can be something that a business person could give out and use it. So yes, I really do believe that the right book, an expert Q&A type book, could be used by nearly anyone who wants to use it for marketing their business.
Well, I've heard that a book is sort of like the new business card today. What do you think about that?
I do believe it is, because it's interesting because we still have lunch and learns. We have business card exchanges. If you go to a local chamber of commerce, you'll actually see that on their list, a business card exchange. How cool would it be if you went to a business card exchange and someone says, hey, can I have your card? And you hand them your book.
I think that'd be really cool. Most people like to feel like somebody that they just met just gave them a gift. We value books.
Yes, and it is a gift. And the beauty of it is how people will say, oh, can I pick your brain? Can we go have coffee? Well, instead of taking the time to let somebody pick your brain for the cost of a cup of coffee, here you give them your book. And then when they reach out to you again, the odds of them wanting to do business with you go up because now they know more about you. So you can eliminate some of this wasted time. But at the same time, in the local market, again, you still are trying to create relationships. It doesn't matter if you're creating relationships in the virtual world or in the real world. The book is like a bridge to help them to get to know you. And there is a marketing saying that people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And an expert book is going to really position you and give you that instant authority, credibility, and it'll also help you to tell the world about your big message and your big mission.
Now, that example that you just gave, you're talking about a physical book, but today everybody's got their phone and their e-readers. Do you think it's important that there's a digital version of the book and a physical book?
Yes, it's really interesting because, as you know, Amazon is the world's largest online seller, and it's also the world's largest bookstore. And they actually have a special division called Kindle. And what all that is that you can upload your book into Kindle, or the digital version of your book can be available. And when it sells, you could actually become an international bestseller. And that would actually just give you more credibility when you're trying to do business. Or for some people, maybe they want to be speakers or they're coaches and they're trying to show the world that they have more credibility and that they're the one. Having that book both digitally and physically can be a huge part of your marketing, and it's very cost effective because of the fact that if you look inside your book in a physical book, you'll have your website, your phone number, your contact information. In a digital book, that information, the URL to your website, can all be clickable. And a cool thing about a digital book is you can embed video into it, and that book could become your online marketing tool. And also, if you don't want to publish your book on Amazon, you also can save your book as a PDF known as an ebook, and then people could open it up. And again, the beauty of having a PDF or an ebook or a Kindle version of a book or a physical book is that you have a marketing tool that you can use across the board. Again, it crosses the virtual and the real world line, and it really does help you to create more reach and more authority, more credibility. And I like to say it creates more impact, influence, and income.
Now, what's the biggest mistake people make when using a book for part of their marketing?
I think the biggest mistake they make is that they don't use it. For example, let's say that you have the physical book. Well, of course, you have to order physical copies, and they think that they want to sell it. And so let's say you have a book and you're saying, oh, I can make money off of this book. I'm going to sell it for $20 or $10 or $5. It doesn't really matter. But the truth is, you're not going to make a lot of money selling your book, but you can make a lot of money using your book. And I have a really interesting story about my first book, and it was called Ask Tami, 365 Social Media Tips, Tricks, and Tools. And that book, it came out in 2011, and I bet you to date, I probably have only sold maybe 50 of those books. But I took my book everywhere I went when I was speaking. For example, I've done a lot of Chamber of Commerce type speaking, SCORE speaking, small business development, Sea Grant, Harvard, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, NASDAQ. And I would take the book and I would just give it to people. And I think that now, 2011 until now, which is almost 10 years, that book has generated more than $1 million in revenue. And like I said, I only sold maybe 50 of them. So that's a big mistake. People think, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money selling my book. No, you can make a lot of money using your book to create that authority and that credibility so that you get invited to speak. And when you give the book away, again, even if people don't read it themselves, they may give it to someone they think could use it, or you can also use it, like you can write a note in the book or bookmark a certain place that may be of interest to a particular person. And that just shows that you are, in tune with them and what their needs are. And it's interesting because my latest book that is just being published as we speak, and I'll have copies, is actually called Ask Tami Patzer. And it's what you need to know about generating leads and positioning yourself as the expert with your own book. So I'm actually practicing what I preach, and I created this book, Ask Tami, so that I could have a physical book and I'll have a digital book to give to my potential clients. And when they read it, they will know whether or not they want to work with me. And it also has the links in it so they can go check me out online. And of course, they can use it. There's a lot of tips in the book. So the book will always have value to someone. And again, it could be that maybe you're the local air conditioning guy, or you're the local remodeling contractor, or maybe you're a financial advisor or a mortgage broker, put who you are in that slot. An expert book could help you get more business. That's the bottom line. And I think,
what if I can't write? I mean, I don't know a lot of contractors who are known for their writing, or dentists aren't really writers necessarily. How are they going to have an expert book?
that's the beauty of it. I have a system, and one of the ways is that we literally can talk your book, meaning that we could have an interview. And this is one of my favorite methods of creating books is we could actually have an interview and use it for one of my podcasts. So we start the marketing with the actual book interview, and then we transcribe it and turn that into your Ask the Expert book. And I've actually done that many times. I have I think I have 29 books available now based on interviews that I have either done for myself or I've done with other people that have become international bestsellers, because of course I'm using my podcast and my books to market my business and my clients' businesses. So
you wrote this
writer. You just have to be able to
write it. Now, you wrote a book called Beyond the Bestseller. So what does that mean?
Well, a few years ago, I turned my Women Innovators podcast into actually 10 different books. And everybody was all excited because they all became #1 international bestsellers as part of the Women Innovators book series. And the big question that I think it was 100% of all of the participants came back to me and they said, okay, Tami, now what? What's beyond the bestseller? So I actually created a marketing formula which includes promoting the status, because again, it's an authority of being a #1 bestseller, #1 international bestseller. So we use your authority, that's news, and I send out press releases that are picked up internationally, specifically by places like ABC, NBC, CBS, and even newspapers like the Miami Herald, the Boston Globe, Wall Street Journal, different newspapers and different TV websites, because they're constantly looking for news to share on their online sites. So people get that. And what I discovered when I was creating this marketing formula is that not only did the book show up in Amazon under the different categories, but it also, when I wrote about it and did press releases and did my podcast interviews with people, those all helped people's online footprint grow. So for example, many of my initial clients, if you looked them up, there was nothing about them online at all, So now if you look them up, you'll see their podcast interview is showing up. You'll see that they're part of Women Innovators book series. And I also, beyond the bestseller, a lot of people don't understand the power of Amazon. So I make sure that I help everyone create not only their Amazon author central profile in the United States, but in all of the countries around the globe, so that you can actually grow your international or global presence with either your own book or in any books you've come to be part of. Because right now, anthology books, compilation books are popular. But what I discovered is that most people who do a compilation or an anthology book, they don't go beyond the bestseller. And your book being published is step 1. Your book becoming a bestseller is step 2. But step 3 and beyond is using your book to grow your business, to send out your big message and to tell the world about your big message, big mission. That's actually one of my books. And that came about when I was doing the interviews. I'm saying, oh my goodness, some of the people I interviewed, they had such big messages and big missions that I actually pulled their stories out to make a whole separate edition of the book, my Women Innovators book series, because it was just bigger than anything that I could give it justice to. And there's a lot of marketing things that go beyond having your book published. Again, if you want to be a speaker, there's a whole speaker path. You need to be prepared. You need to get coached if you want to be on a stage. Many people want to be on TED. Well, there's a process to that, and you have to educate yourself about that. If you want to be on TV, many people, they have big stories, and they can see themselves being on, let's say, Dr. Oz, The Doctors, Good Morning America, CBS This Morning, or Today's Show. Well, I actually work with people to get on those shows. And one of the important things when you're trying to get on TV or stage is if you have a book, and especially if you're a best-selling author, that elevates your status in the eyes of TV producers and in the eyes of people planning their speakers. And there's so many ways that you can use your book. Again, it's not about selling a lot of books. It's about getting your book into the hands or in front of the eyes of as many people as possible who are your ideal clients or your avatar. Those are all, if you think about the words I'm using the language of marketing, but really it's like, who is the person you want to buy your product or service? That's who your book should be written for, that one ideal client.
Right. So circling back, you feel like there's sort of an old belief of, well, if I publish a book, I'm going to make millions because that's how I make money with a book, is through book sales. And you're saying, no, that is not how you make money with your book through book sales. You make money with your book by reaching your ideal clients and growing your business, which is something that instead of making a little bit of money when the book first comes out, could grow your business and make a lot of money over years and years. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes, and I think that's important. And I'm not saying that you can't make money selling books, because you can make money marketing your book. However, you shouldn't have the idea that you're going to become the next Stephen King, especially in the business world. Someone who that's how they make their money, or they're making big royalty checks. Even when you work with a traditional publisher, you as the author, it's your responsibility to get out there and to promote your book and your work. And in the business world, when we're talking about expert books or subject matter expert type books, you need to have a different mindset. And if you have a budget for marketing, Amazon actually has some really good advertising methods that you could use. And everything I'm talking about, again, I'm focused more on how to grow your business using a book, not selling books. In my mind, that's what probably separates me from some people. And I really do, when I work with someone, I try to get them to see the bigger picture about, like what you just said, lifetime benefits. And again, a book, you can use it as your business card. You can use it as your credibility builder. You can use it, you can update it. It can grow with you. You're not limited by one book. You can have multiple books. It's just a really good way to let the world know who you are, and you can stand on it as a foundation. And that book could help you launch that speaking career, that coaching career, that brick and mortar service career, or products. Because if you think about it, even if you're selling products, if you typically are an expert in something related to that product, for example, if you're a doctor and you're an expert in the latest thing, everybody's talking about CBD oil. And if you're a doctor and you've done all this research about the benefits to that, maybe you might want a book about the benefits of CBD oil so that people can go, oh, okay, I got educated about that. Or maybe you're somebody, again, financial advisor, and, you have these tips. I know a guy, his name is Pat Wally. He's a subject matter expert in credit. And I interviewed him, and he just came out with a book. And it's really, powerful when you think about how you can use a book so that people know exactly what your subject matter expertise is. Like, for example, in my case, Beyond the Bestseller, that tells you that if I wrote a book about Beyond the Bestseller, how to create your platform to generate more impact, influence, and income, that kind of tells you what my expertise is. So I think it's really important that people think about how can they tell the world who they are and how do they launch into their power. And having a book is certainly one of the best ways. And it's interesting because, many people talk about leaving a legacy. And there's a whole nother side of this, which is on the personal side. But again, everything I'm talking about really is about the business use of an expert book and how it could help you, open doors to the people you want to be in front of. And it's interesting because I'll just give a little marketing strategy, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
One of my mentors, Mike Koenigs, he talks about the Sharpie method. And I just love this because I've tried it and it works. So he was on an airplane and he saw Richard Dreyfuss sitting on the airplane. And he happened to have, Mike Koenigs had his book. And he was thinking, well, how could I talk to Richard Dreyfuss? So he took a Sharpie and he wrote inside the book, Dear Richard, I have an idea that could help you with your nonprofit organization. And then he signed it and he handed it to Richard Dreyfuss. Well, Richard Dreyfuss, he's on an airplane. And what do you have to do? You pick up the book and you read the little inscription. And it's like, I have an idea to help you with your nonprofit organization. Well, hey, I'm interested in that because that's a passion of mine. So he actually ended up sitting by invitation with Richard Dreyfuss. And then Richard Dreyfuss came on his, show and became a friend and all of that. And the beauty of that is if you think about it, let's say you have your physical book and you have an ideal client that you'd like to get in front of. Well, you could do the same thing either in person, or you could take the book and send it to that ideal client addressed to their personal name, handwrite it, on like a red, white, and blue, folder and put it to that person's name and write a little note about how you think, this book could help them and send it to them. And the odds of them personally opening it are very good because it's addressed to them in your personal, script handwriting or block lettering. And that could open doors for you. You could use the same method to get interviewed on radio or TV or in your local newspaper. The one caveat, something you really need to understand though, is only send your book to the right people. If you are someone and your book has nothing to do with anything and you send it to a local newspaper with no connection to the local news, the odds of them using any of your information are probably zero, and your book and all that effort will go into the trash can. I used to be a newspaper editor, and in local news people, what is the first criteria? It has to be local. So if you can connect yourself to them locally, maybe one of your clients is local, maybe you're local, something local, the odds of them opening it and using it and promoting you go up to probably 95%. And that I know from just having worked in the field of local media, and I worked in all media. I did radio, I did newspapers, and I also did TV, as well as I taught mass communications for 10 wonderful years. I'm always shocked when I realize how long I taught at the University of South Florida. It was 10 years. I'm just like, wow, how did I do that? But I think those are some really good tips that if you think about the power of your book and of being a subject matter expert and how it opens doors, you're on your way.
Now, if someone is interested in working with you, Tami, where can we get more info about working with you or going beyond the bestseller or just creating a book?
I think the easiest way is I actually have two websites. One is real simple. It's Tami, Tami, Patzer.com. You can go there and just connect, through the contact. I have a brand new website opening called dailysuccessinstitute.com. And you can actually go there and log in, and do the contact. And of course, you can always find me on Facebook under Tamara Patzer. Friend me, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. But the easiest way, I would say, go to Tami, Tami, Patzer.com or Daily Success Institute. And again, if you'd like a copy of my new book, Ask Tami, that is all about what you need to do to generate leads and position yourself as an expert with your own book, just ask, and I'll be happy to either get you a digital copy or a physical copy. And the best thing to do is talk, because we can figure out exactly where you are and what you need to become a bestseller, and of course to go beyond the bestseller.
That sounds wonderful. And I'm sure that people will reach out to you to get a copy of that book and to just talk with you about the wonderful possibilities that you've talked about today, really how to ideally grow their business, maybe in a direction in a way that they haven't thought of before, but it is in a way that can be reused over and over and over again in so many different situations that you've described, both using technology of today, and if you're still going and meeting people in person, to still have that physical book in hand to get those relationships created. I do thank you for taking the time to talk with me, and I look forward to talking again, and we can talk more about publishing and consulting and these wonderful new things you're doing to help some authors even go beyond the bestseller, because now you're working with speakers and you're working with consultants, getting them on TV and sending them all over the country. So I've heard about the wonderful things that you're doing and seen these careers just explode. People who were very talented in their field who are now really being seen by a much wider audience as the expert in their field, which is a wonderful thing that you're contributing to the community. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
You've been on the air. Listening to Author Interview Radio. To get instant access to all the private author conversations, go to authorinterviewradio.com. Subscribe now.